Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is a knife that I've already reviewed, except there's something different about it. This is the Artisan Cutlery Archaeo, but it doesn't have, it's a non-locking Archaeo, meaning there's a secondary detent up here, kind of show you guys, click, and it can be broken away by simply applying pressure to the spine. This is interesting, very interesting. There is a way to lock it. We're going to talk about that. This was sent to me directly by Artisan Cutlery. Thank you so much for providing this knife for review. As usual, that will not affect my ability to give an honest review of this knife. Give them a follow on Instagram, Artisan Cutlery and CGRB, which is CGRB is the less expensive brand associated with Artisan Cutlery. They're doing a lot of really cool stuff. And early on their channel, the first few that I handled, I was like, eh. But the more that I pay attention to what they're doing, the more that I handle, the more I'm intrigued. And they've come out with some really, really cool stuff. And this is not so far outside of the realm of that. This is very interesting in a lot of ways, and I'm going to talk about that. Thank you also to my generous patrons for supporting me right now. If you'd like to get your hands on some cool stickers and some other exclusive benefits, there's of course a link down in the description. Your support would mean the world to me. And please follow me on Instagram. All right, let's go ahead and get a measurement on this guy. So this is the same as the large Archaeo, which is actually a knife that I gave a positive review to on my channel. This is coming in at about 8 1/4 inches. The blade length is coming in 3 1/2, and the cutting edge is almost coming in at also exactly 3 1/2 inches. I prefer the large one to the small one by a long shot. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in a little bit bigger at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 is coming in at 8.3 inches overall, also just a tad bit bigger. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall, about very close to the same, 1/4 inch shorter. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3 coming in at 7 1/4 inches overall. How's the action on this guy? Actually, yeah, the action's great. A nice snappy flipping action, very smooth. The nice thing about having that secondary detent up there is you can do this sort of click in and out thing. It adds its own sort of fidget factor. And I've handled other non-locking knives that have this double detent, and there's obvious drawbacks, but it's kind of neat. I gotta say, it kind of adds this little fidgety experience. I was sitting and playing with it on the couch a little bit, and it is very easy to engage and disengage. You know, you can see there, you kind of get a rhythm down, and not that that's important in terms of utility, but, you know, for simple cuts, getting this blade out, making the cut, and then putting it away are about as simple as it gets, because there's no additional movement with your fingers pulling an axis. This is what it looks like to pull an axis lock. I'm sure that's creeping people out a little bit, but that's what that looks like. Or disengaging a liner lock or a frame lock. Whoops. Did you hear the panic? The panic in your voice when you're talking and you accidentally drop a knife. That's your subconscious going, be careful, don't drop it. And then it screams when that happens. Anyways, let's get back to the review. Yeah, there's no secondary movement. So, and it's nice and smooth. This isn't quite a fall shut, you know, like if I'm doing this, it's kind of a shake shut, a wiggle shut. It is smooth though. The action is good. The flipper tab is well positioned, well shaped, and not super sharp. So it's something that you can do over and over and over again. I don't have a problem with that. Let's go ahead and do the hardboard check, get out my tools here. You can pick up my tools in the description. They are very inexpensive and very recommendable. I believe just need one at the moment. This is going to be much the same as other Artisan cutleries that I've handled. We are probably looking at a T8 pivot. And yeah, that's the case. And then unfortunately, your body screws are still T6, which is the same as on the other one. You guys know what I think about T6. I don't like it. Wish it was T8 or bigger. You can't always get what we want. Just be careful if you're going to disassemble it, because the heads can strip, and that's a problem. Let's go ahead and talk about carry profile. So the thickness of this knife up against the Spyderco Para 3, it is actually thinner. The pivot sticks up, makes the thickness about the same in just that area, but it's not really any big deal here. This is a long, slender knife with an unobtrusive flipper tab. So up against height and length, up against the Spyderco Para 3 and PM2, which are two kind of awkward knives in the pocket that nobody ever complains about. You can see there it's a little longer than the Para 3, and a little shorter than the PM2. It's nowhere near as tall, even including the flipper tab, so that really shouldn't bother you. Let's take a look at the inside. Oh no, my new flashlight is not out here, which means we have to use the EGTAC. Ugh. It's not a bad light. It's just not preferable because it doesn't do exactly what I want it to do all the time. You can pick up my actual flashlight in the description. You can see there are countersunk liners in the inside. That's nice. I prefer that to solid G10 or carbon fiber, which is, those are options that you have with this. So, blade thickness, we should do that before we weigh it. It's not an overly thick blade. It's probably about 125 thousandths or so. On the money, 126 thousandths is probably 125. 3.35 ounces, that's fine. It's right there in that ounce and inch mark. It's under the 4 ounce mark. No, I mean, if you regularly carry the Spyderco Para 3 lightweight or Benchmade bug out, perhaps this will seem too big and too heavy for you. Or if you regularly wear athletic shorts or skinny jeans, maybe this won't be the most comfortable thing. For people wearing regular jeans or carry, you know, I would say just totally normal folding knives, and of course, considering if this is legal for you to carry, because it is a 3.5 inch blade, this isn't going to be a problem. I wouldn't worry too much about that. All right, have we covered everything? Have we talked about everything? Yes, we have. Let's go ahead and talk about the idea here. I think, and I didn't confirm this, but talking with a couple of other people, it seems like the general idea with knives like this is to solve legality issues with areas that have laws against locking knives. Like, for example, if you can carry a blade that is 3.5 inches, but you can't carry a knife that is locking. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the excess danger in a knife that locks, right? I mean, if you can carry a fixed blade that is the same length, all right, it's not going to fold. I mean, it just the whole idea behind that is kind of absurd. We don't need to go into that. But anyways, it is the case. So I think what I'm looking at here is a knife designed by Artisan Cutlery. Actually, it was designed by Dylan Mallory, who's a person that I very much enjoy talking with on Instagram. He has some excellent designs, and he's doing great things with CGRB and Artisan Cutlery. So give him a follow as well. The idea here is that it allows people to get their hands on something that's designed well and is also legal in more places. It does come with an option to lock it. However, this is a pin. It's very similar to, I have another one that does this, another Artisan Cutlery design. Maybe this is an indication that they're going to do this more. I have this gigantic Artisan Cutlery proponent in brass that also has a little area. It's got the pin as well. I don't know where that is. But this is a knife that locks with a liner lock, and then it has a secondary lock with the pin, which is it's very excessive and unnecessary, but interesting, right? They're not the first people to do this. I remember seeing, the first time I saw something like this was actually on a Crusader forged knife. Very expensive custom knife. Used to be known as Trident knives. They came with little pins that you could lock. So anyways, you have the option. This came with the lanyard installed on the knife, which I immediately took off because I don't like lanyards or things hanging off my knives. But you could, I mean, you know, if we're going to justify this, you literally could just put this on your keys. And then if you found yourself in a situation where it's safer to have the knife locked, you could remove it from your keys, which is a process, but you totally could do that. And then what you do is you just sort of screw it in here, and now the blade cannot lock. And actually that, well, I didn't screw it all the way in. But you have to really make sure that the threads are connecting with the other side, because then if you are expecting the blade to lock and it doesn't lock, then you have found yourself in a predicament, an unsafe one. So yeah, at this point the blade is not going to lock, which is, you know, beneficial. And that's going to be a really strong lock. That's not something that you would have to worry about the lock strength on. Sorry, I'm having to look at outside of the camera. This is a process, you know. It is something that is made, you know, in some ways you could view it as a convenience. You know, if you're in an area where it's not legal to carry this thing with a lock, then you just carry it as it is. If you want to pick this knife up and you know, like the idea of carrying a secondary thing that locks it out for whatever reason, then you can lock it and it'll be very strong, but you're going to have to, you know, undo it from your keys, or if you've got it, hey, if you don't mind lanyards in it, right? And then you got to screw it in and then you lock it. So it depends on how you look at it and what your usage needs are, whether or not you view that as convenient. I think it's kind of neat. I think it'll benefit some people. It's certainly not going to cater to a wide range of people. Most of us either prefer knives that lock or knives that don't. There aren't too many situations that call for a hybridization of that. But I do appreciate Artisan Cutlery and Dylan Mallory, you know, making this, from what I assume, is an attempt to cater to those people who do need something like this, right? So that's kind of cool. And for anything else, the fidget factor, it's kind of a unique, unexpected fidget factor element of this, is breaking that secondary detent is kind of fun. And again, once you play with it for a little bit, you know exactly how much pressure to apply to the spine to get it to kick back into place, and you can kind of do it over and over and over again. So that's kind of neat. The rest of this review is a little bit unnecessary because, like I said, I've already done it. So I'm going to go over some elements that are different about this one, aside from the non-locking or the double detent nature of it. This one is in Damascus, which is not something that is new for Artisan Cutlery. This is a stainless Damascus. I think, this is not 100% factual because I don't know this for sure, I think their Damascus is VG10 based, which is fine. You don't necessarily, in this price range, buy Damascus for performance. You buy it for how it looks, and it'll perform okay. But it is stainless, so you don't have to worry about, you know, corrosion or anything like that. VG10's okay. It's easy to sharpen, doesn't hold an edge for very long, right? But it'll work. This is definitely a knife that you can use, right? The other interesting thing here is that we have purple. I think the pivot color is aluminum or something like that, but the pocket clip and backspacer appear to be titanium, which is nice. That adds a little bit of, you know, kind of an understanding of, you know, where maybe the extra money is going, because this is more expensive than the budget Archaeo, but it is less expensive than the ultra premium Archaeo. Artisan Cutlery does this thing where they make ultra premium versions of their knives in either S35EN or M390, and then oftentimes it is a combination of titanium and carbon fiber, and then they make the same knife oftentimes in a less expensive form, coming in somewhere between $50 and $100 usually. This is over that, but it's kind of in between. So they've added a couple little things to help kind of spice that up and justify the price, and I appreciate that. I do kind of like the contrast of black, purple, and Damascus. For whatever reason, I think that's nice. You have a couple of different options on this thing in terms of color of G10, or if you want carbon fiber, that is also an option. As of right now, as of the exact moment of this recording, the only place I can find this is actually on the Artisan Cutlery website, which is a place that you should go explore, because there are a lot of things on that website that I guarantee a lot of you never knew were available. They do make insane versions of their knives. I've seen full Damascus versions of Artisan Cutlery knives, which is incredible, right? They do some excellent work, some crazy stuff for people who are looking for that. And they also have a few models on their website that are just not available anywhere else. So it's worth going and checking that out. Other than that, though, it's largely the same knife. I mean, this is a good design. The lanyard pin is completely out of the way, and the pocket clip carries it. Not super deep, but not necessarily shallow. There's not a lot hanging out of your pocket. I don't really like thin popsicle stick pocket clips, but it does well with this design, and the retention's there, right? Nice, totally open body, easy to clean out. It is absolutely solid left and right. Obviously, I can't say it's solid back here, but if you push forward, it's going to break that. But there's no wiggle or anything like that. No detent lash. That's fine. Something that's odd, is probably just for convenience, is that they have jimping back here, which doesn't make any sense because as soon as you push on the blade, it's going to disengage it. So if you are going to buy this knife, you're going to have to get used to bearing down on it like this or with your thumb back here. Do not bear down on this blade up here because it will disengage, right? But it is comfortable. Something I didn't like about the small Archaeo was that because of the shape back here of the handle and because of how long the handle was on the small one, I couldn't get a full forefinger purchase. My pinky wanted to slip off the end. On this guy, I can definitely get a full purchase. As long as you were cutting straight forward with this knife, right, if all the pressure is on the blade, you're not going to have to worry about that blade disengaging. But if you are pushing the blade into something, and you know when you push the blade into something dense and you have to kind of wiggle it around to get it back out, it could disengage on you, right? Especially if you do this. Spine whack test makes no sense on something like this. If you put pressure on the spine, it's going to disengage. That's how it's designed, right? I can see this actually being a super convenient style of knife for a lot of people who are not using their knives ultra hard, and if they live in an area where they can carry a knife of this size, but not, you know, a locking knife, which honestly sounds like a very specific, very, you know, there are only a few people who are really going to benefit from that, and at the same time want specifically this. This is a new style of knife, you know, I mean, in terms of like, the locking system, and then you know, you have to like the design and the materials used. I did not see a version of this that was not Damascus. Maybe that exists, maybe it doesn't. I'll tell you this much. You know, we're coming down to really the end, as far as big as this review needs to be, or as long as it needs to be. This is neat. They want $125 on the website for it. Looking over their website, their prices aren't bad. The retailer prices for some of the same knives are just a little bit less. Like, for example, the RIA on Blade HQ is like $38, and on Artisan Cutlery's website it's like $43, and maybe that'll change, right? This isn't factual. You're gonna have to go check this for yourself depending on when you're watching it, but it's not that much different in most cases, I think. So perhaps if this hits retailers, you know, if it ever comes to retailers, maybe it'll be a little bit less money. I feel like it's a little bit high. You know, honestly, truthfully, I'd like to see the exact same thing with maybe 154 cm, and then if they came in at like 80, 85, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like that, you know, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, I'd like it a lot more if it costs, you know, $30 less or whatever, right? It's like, where's my justification for saying that? It's just like, me personally, this is neat. I'm not really feeling it for myself. I like the Archaeo design. Both the budget version and the high-end version I think are great. This hits a weird middle ground and is going to cater to some people, and the values, it's a little cloudy, right? Some people are going to love this, right? $125 is not a lot of money to some people, but it definitely is a lot of money to most people. So, you know, to convince those people to spend that, you know, it's really going to have to offer something extra special. And we see Damascus in this price range. We see G10 and a little bit of titanium in this price range. It's neat that it has the double detent thing, but I don't know. I feel like most people are either going to choose the less expensive liner lock or the more expensive frame lock, right? Is the less expensive one a liner lock? I can't remember. This is okay. It's all right. I don't know that it's 100% something that I can recommend, because I don't think it makes sense to most people. But it's neat. And there are definitely going to be people who watch this and go, I'd actually like to own that. You know, in which case you can pick this up on their website, right? Artisan Cutlery does a lot of cool stuff. They're worth paying attention to. They're worth, you know, following on Instagram and watching other YouTube videos on, because they seem to be gradually getting better and better and better with their designs and more interesting. And they're willing to innovate and try some different things, which is always welcome, right? They don't necessarily have to hit the nail on the head every single time, but if they're trying new things and yeah, I welcome that, because it gives me interesting things to talk about, and it gives the knife community new things to look at besides titanium frame locks and M390, which we all are all, you know, just excessively bored with. So for that, Artisan Cutlery, I applaud you. This is all right. Not going to be something that's going to go on my recommended knives playlist, but yeah, check this out. I'll be linking the other Artisan Cutlery knives that I can provide links for down in the description. You can go to the Artisan Cutlery website yourself if you want to. It's easy to find. But if you want to check out the Artisan Cutlery Archaeo in either the frame lock, the higher end frame lock, or the lower end liner lock, or just Artisan Cutlery knives in general, I will link those right down in the description so you guys can check that out for yourself. I think that's going to be pretty much it for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.